Well, hello friends, and welcome to Autumn Cottage on this beautiful Easter Sunday. The sun's shining, the birds are trilling a dawn chorus, and the weatherman promises us at least a day full of good weather. Now, today's the most important day in the Christian calendar, but for both Christians and those of the Jewish faith who are celebrating Passover at the moment, great gratitude came after great suffering, and we cannot ignore the fact that we're experiencing an Easter like no other in most of our lives. We're in the midst of a pandemic, and the effect of this is to bring grief into much sharper focus. So today I'd like to talk about both grief and gratitude. Now, my intention is always that these visits to Autumn Cottage leave you feeling uplifted and encouraged, but as Dr. Phil used to say on the Oprah Winfrey show, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. I think nowadays we're not very good at acknowledging, talking about grief and loss, even though we're all looking at it in the face at the moment, on TV and the news, even if not directly in our own lives. Now, I'm lucky because part of my studies at Winchester took a long look at grief, and I met many other people there who were comfortable talking about the issue, but perhaps we're not so good at it in our day-to-day lives. I'm thinking particularly that we're perhaps not very good at acknowledging that there are all sorts of griefs and losses that we experience, and we naturally associate those feelings with death and dying. But I wonder if we're also able to see how much we might experience grief, say when we lose a job, or we have to move house from a beloved home, perhaps when a dear friend moves away, or when we fail to achieve something for which we've worked very hard. Now, these experiences all bring their own feelings of loss and of sadness, lack of control, in a world where to be seen to be in control seems nowadays to be the ultimate requirement. I think these experiences remind us that we are never fully in control of everything that happens to us in our lives. This is highlighted big time at the present moment, where this rampaging disease seems to have taken control away from our everyday lives for now. It's reminding us that we are not all powerful. We're not always in control. This is real, this is true, and this is natural. So perhaps at this time you might like to think about giving yourself permission to acknowledge firstly that it is normal and human to feel grief for these things, and then to recall and honour some of the griefs and losses you've experienced in your life, whether they arose a long time in the past or whether they've occurred very recently. Now, I think you might know what I'm going to suggest. Get out that exercise book, set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes, and let your mind wander over some of the griefs and sadnesses, some of the losses you've experienced. It may be one or two, or a number more might come forward in your mind. And when you've finished writing, just read through and reflect upon what you've written. Give yourself permission to feel those feelings. They're not weak or unworthy. They are normal. They are what makes us fully human. And now you have acknowledged them. But I have said that this would be about both grief and gratitude. So perhaps you'd now like to counterbalance those feelings of sadness with what right here and right now you might have cause to be grateful for. What can you find in your experience today that helps you to feel and believe that life is worth living? The admin would have us believe it has to do with big stuff. But I think we're all realising more and more that it's the small things that really matter. And those small things are available all around us. And doing this little exercise makes us stop, look and think. Again, set up that timer for 5 to 10 minutes and capture on the page what you see. What can you hear? And what can you smell and touch and taste? What's present in your life right here for which you now feel gratitude? Off the top of my head, while I'm sitting here, I can tell you that I feel enormous gratitude just for simply having a garden in which I can sit. I'm all too conscious of the fact that this pandemic busting lockdown is relatively easy for me, but not nearly so for those who have little or no outdoor space. The lockdown's also brought a silence that I've not experienced here for 35 years. I can hear the bird song with a rare rushing past of cars that at other times can obliterate the music of the birds, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm full of gratitude for my eyesight, which gave me a bit of trouble last year, but right now enables me to see the birds coming down, pulling clumps of moss and taking it off to build their nests, and it enables me to watch the pheasants coming up for their breakfast every morning. It also enables me to see the squirrel coming up and try to steal some of that seed, and I must say it usually succeeds. I feel real gratitude for the fact that my sons and their partners are safe and happy, doing everything they can to look after each other. And that gratitude extends community-wide, because in the midst of all the tragic stories brought about by coronavirus, I think we're all seeing acts of great beauty, so much compassion and sacrifice by members of the caring professions and the general public. The very worst of experiences seems to have brought out the very best in so many people. And if nothing else, we can clap and bash our pots and pans every Thursday night. If you're able to, I would encourage you to keep a little gratitude journal every day. I've done it for several years, and it only takes 5 minutes, jotting down 2 or 3 things for which I've felt grateful. Though there's no rule about writing every day. As always, the only rule, and that in inverted commas, the only practice I would encourage you to keep, is to date your entries. It can be really heartening to read through journal pages, particularly in trying times, reading the pages of longer journal entries, but also the short, brief entries in a gratitude journal can remind you that whatever difficulties we might experience in this roller coaster ride through our lives, we did come through, and daily we found something, be it ever so small, of value and goodness in each day. That thought uplifts and encourages me, and I'd like to think I leave you with the thought that it can encourage you too. Now friends, if you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss further videos from Autumn Cottage, do think about subscribing to my channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications. And wish you a happy and peaceful Easter day, and I'll speak to you all again very soon.